If you love your job, you'll never work a day in your life. It was one of the things I'd heard constantly as I grew up, yet had never fully believed. It sounded like an empty platitude, too good to be true. After dying, winding up here, and then the mess that had happened at the Dueling Peaks, I had to admit that, yeah, there was something to it after all. I did, in fact, love my job. Yes, some days it did feel like work. Some days I didn't want to get out of bed, but most days when I got up, I just looked forward to what I was going to accomplish. It was probably a bit of a strange thing to think about as I swung my sickle, bent over so I could get at the stalks of the wheat, but it was a thought I couldn't get out of my head. There was something soothing about it, invigorating even. To touch the earth, to grow, to make, and then to enjoy the fruits of my labor. The year thus far had been trying, one full of upheavals and revelations. I'd had to reconnect with the real cultivation aspects of this world, something I'd thought I had left far behind. There had been a letter from the man who had taught me how to cultivate, a massive battle at the Dueling Peaks, and all the fallout from that, which I was still waiting for. And yet, for as much turmoil as the year had brought, when I crouched down with a sickle, it all washed away. I just let my body flow as I thought, as I pondered, and as I enjoyed myself, as I moved forwards. The lazy days of summer were slowly but surely coming to a close. I could feel the slight nip of the wind, the change in the plants as they started to change their quiet tune, and as the days started to become shorter. And that meant preparations. We had already harvested all of our rice months ago, but the second wheat harvest I had planted was fully grown. My chickens trailed in my wake, clucking as they hunted down the insects that had taken up residence in the wheat. We didn't have any pesticides, so the fields were always rife with things looking to steal a portion of my harvest. So we had to resort to older methods, namely unleashing a horde of chickens. "Are they tasty this year?" I asked, amused at the sheer predatory intent the chickens were showing, mercilessly hunting down every bug that dared to move. A voice answered from behind me. "Indeed, they are most succulent this year, master. Even better than the last." It was a smooth and deep sound, and I soon turned around to look at the speaker. A rooster stared back at me. He finished placing a sheaf of wheat that I had bundled into the basket tied to his back. He looked almost comical, weighed down with a bundle of wheat that was bigger than he was, yet he bore the task with ease. "Really?" I asked him. It wasn't often that an animal could really tell you what they enjoyed eating, but I should have known from the rations Big D had packed when he'd set off on his journey exactly what he preferred. Smoked worms tasted bad to me, but he always enjoyed them. "Indeed, master. This Biddy has sampled these interlopers from all over the Azure Hills, and yet the ones from our home remain the most succulent," he declared authoritatively, as he picked up another bundle of wheat. "Where did the second-best ones come from?" I asked, interested. Biddy paused, clearly giving my question due consideration. "To the southeast, nearer to the Great Lake, there is a glade with a great many worms within. They were most agreeable," the rooster told me, and I chuckled. "What makes a good worm anyway?" I asked as I turned back around to continue my job. "I would say juiciness for one, yet Brother Washi insists it's the snap and correct chew. I would not know, for I cannot chew." And so I listened to a chicken list off the things that one should look for in a good insect as I finished my job. "See the gleam upon that one's carapace, a choice morsel," Big D narrated from my shoulder. It was rather comforting, listening to my first friend talk. He would occasionally dart down and grab a bug, just to wax poetic about it. And on it went until I finished the field. When I was finally done, I stretched, grunting slightly as the exertions of the day made themselves known. I turned back and looked at the stalks, which would need to be plowed back under later. They would be fertilizer for the new growth. "It's gotten big, hasn't it?" I asked the rooster. "Indeed it has, and it shall grow in size next year as well," the rooster returned. A year ago, this place had been covered in massive boulders and thick trees. It had contained but a lonely little shack and the foundation for a single house. The fields had expanded from a little vegetable plot and half an acre of rice to over 30 acres of farmed land. My home was more like a manor, and even the little shack had grown until it was a proper house. So much had changed in so short a time. We even had industry now. I saw the drop hammer we had built down by the river going, the sound muffled by the water and the bird song. Bo and Gojen were already working on stuff.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.